Hi there, and welcome to the Leaky Bucket podcast. This is the financial performance podcast for entrepreneurs looking to get a better understanding of their numbers, plug the leaks in their business, and then move from surviving to thriving. I'm your host, Ian Morgan, and we're powered by MBS Accountants. Hey guys, and welcome to another episode. So today we have with us Jess Williams, who is a co-founder of DESIGN in the Shires, which is a design agency based up in the Melvins, which helps business owners have a clearer and more focused approach to design and marketing of their business. Jess juggles motherhood alongside running the business, and the business still continues to grow from strength to strength. Jess, welcome.
Thank you. Nice to be here. Thank you for the invite.
Fantastic. So Jess, first of all, I just want to look at things and go, look, the Leaky Bucket podcast is about sort of the challenges that that running a business brings. We're all human. We've all got that side of stuff. We talked about juggling motherhood. Do you want to explain what challenges maybe that's brought for you and alongside running a business?
Yeah, of course. So we ended up having our first baby about 3 months after starting the business, and just after Ben had given up his, my partner had given up his full-time job. So we were properly thrown in the deep end on all sides. So it was learning how to be a mum, which I'd never done before, alongside how to be a business owner, which I'd never done before. So it was two totally new experiences, both of which take a huge amount of your time and energy and mental space. So it was learning how to swap my hats, I suppose, is the best way to put it. So I could be useful to the clients and to the people that work for us, as well as giving the best to my baby. So it was a challenging time, but one that led to a lot of personal growth, and I wouldn't have it any other way now.
Fantastic. And I think both of those things are things that people have got plenty of opinions on, but actually there's no right or wrong way to either be a mum or to be a business owner or dad or a parent of any description, I suppose. But yeah, definitely no manual for either of those processes. So two massive challenges to take on at the same time. As you moved into running a business, how did that transition from employment across to then running a business? How did you cope with that? How did that work?
When I first left my employed job, I was pregnant at the time. So all of a sudden had a lot of free time and a lot of hormones. So spent a lot of time very emotional. So that was actually quite a difficult period of time for me. However, having settled into it, the first thing was because we initially started off just very small, myself and my husband, our outgoings were very low, and our freedom felt very high. So it felt like a great space for the first 6 months or so. Ben had time to be with myself and our baby, and would work in the evenings. We made time work for us. And then as the business grew, that its freedom became less and the costs became higher, and that became more difficult to manage. And so it's been a roller coaster, but one full of joy and learning, which I love. Never stop learning, especially when you're running a business. And so it was difficult and amazing all in the same breath, which I think sums up running your own business quite well.
Yeah. Obviously for a lot of our listeners, they're parents and things as well. How have you coped with those challenges at times where you've got challenges, I suppose, within the business that means that needs your attention, but then you've also got children who they also need your attention at the same time? How have you managed that pulling in both directions?
So for me, I love what I do. I love the business that I run, but it's not the be all and end all. The most important thing for us is family. So we've always prioritized family first, and we'll continue to do so, because at the point that the business is not allowing us to do that, it's not serving its purpose to us, which is to allow us to live the family lives that we want to live. That's not to say that there haven't been difficult moments or crunch points, and you just have to realize that during those times it won't be like that forever. And yes, you might have to do the odd late night or you perhaps might have to ask someone to help have the baby or help out for a couple of hours a day. But at the point that it is always like that, something's not right. So I would always prioritize being a mother over running a business, because that's my most important job.
Yeah, no, couldn't agree more. It's, yeah, without going into massive details, we had a similar situation ourselves recently, and yeah, we had to do that, and it was the right thing to do. How's it been trying to structure the team around that to make sure that you've got a team that can work hard for you guys as business owners, but also understand that you guys are parents as well? And yeah, how's that been?
We are incredibly lucky with the team that we've got. We're a relatively small team, and we all function as a dysfunctional family, as it were, anyway. So they are incredibly understanding, and Phoebe, our little girl, often visits the office, and they're all quite happy to take 20 minutes out to draw some pictures with her or play some games with her. And I think Ben and I act very much as a team. So if one of us is unavailable for any reason, the other one will step in. And of course, staff welfare and well-being is incredibly important to us. So as well as being a mum, looking after them is kind of the next priority. So, if an email has to wait, or sending an invoice has to wait, or a meeting has to be delayed, then so be it. It's not life or death. Whereas the personal relationships that you have in your life with the important people are of the utmost importance to us. So I don't think, luckily, we've ever had a crunch point where the two have really come head to head and caused an issue, because people are very understanding. And also, I think they appreciate that that's how they would like to live their lives as well. And we try to give the same back to them. So again, their family issues are more important than the work that they do for us. And we would always let them know that. So it's always going to be difficult when you've got clashing priorities, but you always just have to try and remember what is the most important one and put that first.
Yeah, I think a lot of people forget, when you get asked what business you're in, you got you guys in design, we're in accounting, and you got all the various different things that people are in, but actually everybody's just in the people business. And if you're open and you're honest with your team, with clients, whoever they might be, actually most situations people can relate to and they can understand. And then if there are mistakes or there's delays, being open and honest, people relate to that and can see what's going on. It's a challenge when you start to hide it, and maybe then you start to go, I won't quite reveal that. And then little white lies maybe creep in, and then before you know it, things are out of control and people get angry. But actually, just being open and honest often just makes it very relatable and people can understand what you're coming from. Obviously, running your business probably hasn't been without challenges. It's highly unlikely. What are some of the big challenges for you that stick out over the course of running Design in the Shires?
Probably the biggest challenge, because we started off, as I said, just myself and my husband running it from home. Biggest challenge was getting to the point that we were unable to cope between the two of us with the workload, and it became clear that we were going to have to take somebody else on, and that was terrifying at the time, and for several reasons. Firstly, obviously the financial impact of doing so, but also the loss of control. So all of a sudden it wasn't just myself and Ben making decisions or taking action. We had to trust that the people that we were employing could do it just as well as us. And as I said, we're very lucky with our team. They're absolutely brilliant. But no matter how good the people are underneath you, those first few steps of going, actually, okay, you can handle this, is difficult and scary. And so I think that was probably the biggest challenge, but the benefits off the back of that was so huge. The both of our stress levels massively dropped as soon as we were able to share that burden of workload, and also the business became more efficient, more profitable. Your output can get better, and I think from every challenge is a huge opportunity, and it's just a case of making sure that you take considered risks, to make sure that you are both solving a problem, but also solving problems you didn't realize you had, and creating opportunity. So I think taking those first few employees on was very scary, but we wouldn't be where we were today if we hadn't have done it. And we had great support in making those decisions as well from yours truly.
Yeah, I think if I remember rightly, not only did you guys probably take on stuff earlier than what a lot of other businesses do, but I think you also took on premises around that same point as well, to go actually almost like this business has to accelerate pretty quickly to that next level if we're going to get what we want from it, which, yes, there's a financial incentive in running a business, but actually this was a lifestyle type business. How did it feel, I suppose, being in that position to go, how did you validate that risk where you were going, oh, this feels painful financially, but actually long term, this is what we want?
Yeah, I think it was mainly, so myself, I do more of the business management. Ben does more of the kind of hands-on frontline work, if you like, the design work. And I could see he was getting on well. His stress was, he wasn't there most of the time. He was way in his head, thinking about things, getting to the point where you begin to forget things because there's just so much on the to-do list. So that was never why we started the business. We started the business because we wanted to be free and stress-free and be able to control the impact that work had on our life rather than, being 9 to 5 for somebody else. And at the point where it wasn't giving us that, it was actually more stressful than what the roles we were in previously. It had to be an easy decision because health and well-being, mental health is incredibly important to us. And watching my husband struggle was not an option anymore. So yes, there was going to be a financial hit, but getting my husband back, Phoebe getting her dad back, him being able to take time out to spend with the family is worth so much more than any pounds or pennies could ever be. We didn't start the business to get rich. We started the business to get a lifestyle, to be able to control our own time, and employing people allowed us to get back to that point. So it felt scary at the time, but it was also a very easy decision. So it's one of those oxymorons, if you like, that's terrifying but very necessary and very easy to do.
Yeah, I think it's one of the key learnings that we like to try and share within the podcast, actually, that the whole leaky bucket effect is actually, as business owners, we get so driven towards growing a business to new levels, to want to think that a lot of the time we can just sell our way out of a problem. But actually, sometimes it takes standing back and just going, actually, by selling more and taking on more clients or taking on more work, what problems are we creating that we could see if only we took the time to stop and focus on them? I fully guess that you've been guilty of it. We all have. I'm certainly not immune. At times when you took on more work than what you wanted to, what problems did you start to see creep out of the business then when you took that time to stand back?
So we definitely saw problems in terms of time management, in that we were both ended up working ridiculously long hours, right through evenings, weekends, which is not the lifestyle that we wanted to have for our little girl. But also quality drops. So the output of work that you are generating suddenly isn't what you set out to do. We always wanted to do the best that we could. We never set out to do a mediocre product for anybody, and we care deeply also about our clients and delivering for them. And as soon as you're not quite hitting that mark, it's damaging to every aspect of your business, as well as your own confidence and your own belief in what you can do. So yeah, it was necessary to move away from that to maintain the quality of the business, as well as the lifestyle we wanted to have. Lots of problems, I think, is the answer to that question.
I definitely don't think you're alone. I think we've all got them, we've all had them, and we'll probably all continue to have them as well. Do you take any steps now, maybe even holding each other accountable, or what do you do now to make sure that if you slightly feel things maybe are going off track, and you're going back towards those same issues, how do you catch yourself and check that you're not going too far down one of those sort of paths again?
So I think it would be unrealistic to say that there's never moments where we're overworking. There are times where there's crunch points, where outside factors influence on ability to achieve deadlines, and all of a sudden you're rushing. But what we do is we appoint a wonderful studio manager, and she is really, really big on health and well-being, and she keeps a tight grip on all of us that work here. So as well as her managing time more efficiently, she is an external source to Ben and I to go, hang on a minute, it looks like you're stressed. She'll help take the burden off. But also between Ben and myself, we are more able now, having been through that difficult time, to recognize when it's coming up. So we try and preempt it a little bit. So, I'm feeling stressed. Let's list out what you've got to do, what we've got to do. Is there bits that we can outsource? Is there bits that somebody else in the team can be doing? Can I help? So it's more of a collaborative team effort to manage that overload when it does come, because it is always going to come at some point. It's the nature of it. There's so much that's outside of your control. So I think early recognition of the signs of being stressed, we both got better at that. And then sharing those burdens between team members, whether they be in-house or outsourced, has been our biggest thing. But also taking time out. Actually, if you feel stressed, you're better just to step away for half a day, go for a walk up the hills or whatever it might be, clear your head, and come back with a renewed sense of priority. Because it's that phrase, isn't it? Can't see the wood for the trees, when we're all caught up in trying to do what we need to do. And also little tips and hints that we've learned over the years. So eating your frogs, which I think came from you, Ian, making sure that you do those big, nasty, horrible tasks that you've been putting off, just get them done, and then they don't cause you that pain down the line. And also having priority lists set at the beginning of the week. So making sure that you really stay focused on those tasks that are valuable to the business, rather than getting sucked into just clearing off the little tasks that don't really add anything. And that has really changed both of our philosophies and approach to work, which means that we get those situations far less frequently than we did before.
Fantastic. I think one thing I certainly always take from you guys is there's always an openness to learning. You're very aware that when you're trying something new, regardless of this, doesn't probably apply to business, it probably applies outside of business as well. But when you're trying something new, as long as your intentions are good and they're in the right place, you will probably make mistakes. But it's rather than just sort of brushing off those mistakes, how do you learn from them and make sure that you're continuing to lower the risk of you making the same mistake twice? And I feel like you guys are always very keen to want to learn from others. So if you can take sort of somebody else's mistakes and see what they've done and how they've gone wrong, and then learn from those, it massively accelerates your business, because you don't end up making a mistake that knocks your business back. You learn from somebody else and you accelerate that forward. That being said, I think as business owners, what we're all completely guilty of is sometimes being completely naive to our weaknesses and our failings, and that we almost are overconfident and possibly egotistical sometimes, and think that things are going to go amazing and we know everything. And I think then usually somewhere around the time that you start to hire people, and good people, is usually a bit of a breakthrough moment where you start to realize that actually, no, I'm not the best. I don't know everything. There are people out there who are better than me at X, Y, and Z. Have you guys gone through that sort of moment? Was there a particular breakthrough moment where you suddenly realized and went, actually, we need great people around us?
Yeah, I think we definitely, I would agree with everything you just said. When we first started, we were overconfident. we knew there was stuff that we didn't know, but we also felt, I think, because we started off as freelancers and there was lots of money around, and we thought, oh, this is wonderful. You know, got no costs, we know everything, business is easy. And then, yeah, you suddenly get that when I suppose it's the moment for us, as you mentioned earlier, when you've got premises and you've got staff, and all of a sudden there's other people that you're responsible for. The the crunch point of, okay, we've still got a lot to learn. And then I think we probably had a bit of a crisis of confidence where we thought, oh, we're in too deep. We don't know what we're doing. This thing's out of control and we can't keep up. And it's that period of chaos, where you've not quite got all your ducks in a row and you realize you don't know as much as you thought you do. And you somehow got to pull yourself through that. And actually learning is the absolute key to that, and being open to other people's experiences and accessing the help that's around you, whether that's, you know, through business coaching or through, you know, stuff that councils and the chambers and things like that can offer. There's so much support and help to make you realize that you're not alone in that feeling. And then it becomes a challenge and it becomes fun again, because you think, oh, you know, we can do it. We can sort it out, and utilize technology and all that wonderful stuff that you can do to make your business run more efficiently. But yeah, I think definitely the premises and the staff was the moment where all of a sudden you've got costs that you didn't have before, and you think, oh, this is harder than I thought, and I definitely don't know everything. But I think it's necessary to almost have that wobble to really focus you on what you can do to make the business run more efficiently, because as efficient as you can get your business, the less stressful it's going to be. So it's, you know, for everybody, it's a positive thing. But yes, definitely went through that moment, 100%.
Yeah, I feel like we all do. I feel like as business owners, we almost go in the early stages, it's like, oh, shall I get started? And there's almost like, I'm not quite sure if I can do this. Then suddenly you make the leap, and there's almost overconfidence then for a period of time. And you're like, yeah, I'm unbeatable, keep gaining new clients, keep winning, things keep growing. And then all of a sudden, when you suddenly then need help, now almost you end up with going, oh, now I feel like I've got imposter syndrome. I'm not good enough. I'm constantly looking at all these problems we've got. You know, we don't have systems for this, or, oh, my financials aren't up to date, or how do we hire great people? I've made some mistakes and I've hired people who didn't really get what we're about. And suddenly then almost you end up going completely the reverse, and you end up going, I don't think I'm good enough to do this. And it's almost a mad roller coaster. And then suddenly you can end up stuck with, because we move from challenge to challenge and want to fix problem after problem, then actually sometimes it takes an effort to stand back and just go, actually, wow, what is the amazing stuff that we've actually achieved? And actually, maybe that's a great sort of segue into, actually, we've been very negative. We've looked at challenges and lots of things like that. What's some of the positives that have come out from you guys being business owners, being parents, yeah, and everything that you've been doing to help people?
I think, firstly, the level of freedom over time. So although we're very busy, actually we can decide when we want to do things, which you don't always get with, you know, being an employee of somebody. But the learning, the meeting new people, you know, we're lucky enough to work with a huge array of different kinds of companies and different sorts of people. And that has been amazing. And learning about all these different industries that we never would have come into contact with had we not done it. So it's broadened our horizons in that sense, made us more aware of what's around us. And I've loved building a team, you know, building an environment that I would have wanted to work in, and making sure that our employees are happy and we're doing everything that we can for them has been a really interesting experience and a really valuable experience. And just down to, you know, like picking the furniture for the office and the decor and, you know, those fun things that you don't often get to talk about, you know, that's been a really lovely time. And helping people get the best out of their skills as well is really rewarding, which is not something that you often get to do, apart from running your own business. the sense of achievement, I feel very proud of us that we've managed to get to where we are. It's not always easy, and sometimes there's, bumps in the road, but to have got to where we are and still be here kind of 4 years later is something I'm incredibly proud of, and I think is a great achievement. And I don't think people are often quick enough to say, actually, no, I have done well. We have done well, and we're glad we're here. Um, but especially being a mum, coming back to Phoebe, if she's poorly, I take the day off. I don't have to worry about ringing somebody up and saying I'm not coming in. And we're able to go out for lunch as family occasionally, which we wouldn't always do. That level of freedom is probably the best thing. And I'm not saying, my time is totally free. Obviously, there's some stuff that you have to do, but you can kind of pick where you put things, and that is really valuable for why we set up the business.
Yeah, fantastic. I love that. I think it's that, again, we just end up coming back to people, that so many business owners can be out there and just going, oh my God, people are all my problems. But actually, when you get it right and you realize, for me, it was when we installed values and we installed a culture within our business, and we lived and breathed that. Once we then started bringing in people who aligned with us, suddenly it goes from being a stressful and difficult place to work to being an amazing place to work, because people get it and people understand. And like you say, when you have those moments where you go, do you know what, like, my family has to come first, they get it. But similarly, you also get it for them as well, because they have those moments. And it just means everyone's more appreciative and things roll out and move in. So yeah, it's very easy to go, people create all my problems, but people also create people are a business. You couldn't do the things you do without them on board.
Absolutely.
So opportunity as well. I wanted to talk to you a bit about Design in the Shires. What does Design in the Shires do? How do you help people? What's the typical problems people come to you with, and how do you help them see some clarity from something that actually can be very complex, and people think they can do it themselves, because you get the likes of like website design, you get the likes of Wix or something, and people go on and think, yeah, this is easy, and then all of a sudden they run into a big problem. How do you help people?
Yeah, I think so. We work with primarily SMEs, but we do have some corporate clients as well. And I think the most valuable the ones that I love the most are the kind of the startups, or the sole traders who, like you say, they might have tried to do something themselves before. The industry, I think itself, has generally quite a bad name. People don't understand the costs behind it. People aren't always open and transparent about those costs. And I think people a lot of the time feel that they might be being ripped off, or that they're paying far too much for a service. So what I particularly enjoy is making sure that we're backing that trend. We want to make sure that people know that they can trust us, that the pricing is transparent and they know what they're getting. And if we get somebody who's tried to do it themselves, Wix example is perfect. They've set up a Wix website or similar. It might look pretty. It'll probably be a template. Probably other people might have that site as well. It's not doing what people need it to do, and we can give them a real solution to that problem, which is a very cost-effective solution. And it's always going to be an investment, a new website or a new marketing campaign. But what we really want to offer people is a return on that investment. So finding out why people want the site, what it needs to do, what the objectives of the business are, making sure that the values of that business and the personality of that business is displayed forefront. It's a shop window, that kind of thing. And then seeing people get the results, and having them. And we're very, very lucky and very proud of the fact that virtually all of the clients that we've worked with have continued to work with us into the future. So we carry on doing marketing with them, which I think shows the quality of what we're providing. And it's just incredibly rewarding when you can sit down with them and get to know their business, give them something that answers the problems that they have and delivers for them what they need. And as I said, it's really interesting because you get to learn about all sorts of different people, which is brilliant. There's lots of, primarily we do web, but we also do marketing, social media, and it's just very interesting. the different types of people and the different goals and objectives that people have, and making sure that you come up with a plan that really, returns their investment for them, and shows them the opportunity available to them if they utilize the digital services available properly.
Yeah, I always think it's an area that I was going to say maybe many business owners possibly overlook. Business owners seem to be very happy to plow money into marketing, which is risky, I suppose, in terms of you don't know that you're going to gain people. And then they divert that traffic into a website that's half built, built in something that was cheap and cheerful. It looks it and it says that, and you spend all this money on marketing, and then they drop onto something that you sort of go, oh, that's what represents your brand and your company and your image. And I wonder whether there's an element of business owners who go, oh, I view a website cost as like, that's another marketing cost as such. But I like your term in terms of it's an investment. Like, you don't build a website every month. Like, you build it, and it's an asset that's to be there for a period of time. Yes, it will probably need updating and improving, and over that sort of time frame. But actually, it is an investment. And yeah, it's frustrating sometimes when you do see somebody with some great marketing, and then you drop onto the website and you're like, oh, this feels a bit last decade sort of thing. And I like that sort of investment type approach.
Frustrating, find it.
Yeah, no, it's a challenge, but hopefully it's one that you can keep making a noise in. And actually, that was the other point you'd said that I liked was, I think you're right to raise the elephant in the room, I suppose, which is that it's a distrusted industry. But actually, for the very fact that you're able to just go, yes, it is a distrusted industry, and actually our almost number one point is, how do we raise trust? I think there's too many people who don't recognize what the biggest problem is in their industry. So I think, by just acknowledging that that's a problem and then doing something about it, well, that builds trust straight away. It's so simple and yet so effective. My other bit was going to be, as we go towards wrapping up, was going to be, what is the biggest lesson that you've learned from business, from life, anything, I suppose, so far, that you feel other people could learn from, so that maybe that they can do that process that you guys do, is, learn from other people's mistakes and make sure that actually, if you're taking in what other people have got wrong and you can not make that mistake, actually that would accelerate your business just so much further forward.
I think it does center around learning, and the wisest people are those that know that they don't really know anything. And I think being open to listening to other people, not to respond, but to genuinely listen and take that on board, without getting defensive, and trying to defend your choices previously, because we've all made mistakes. We've all, with the benefit of hindsight, thought that we could have done things differently. But I think it's human nature when someone says, "Oh, why don't you do this?" to be like, "Well, no, we did it like this because whatever it might be." But actually, to be open-minded to other people's viewpoints, to try and look at things objectively without being too harsh on yourself, and to realize that learning, we never stop learning. And as soon as we've reached a point that we think we know everything, then you can just become arrogant effectively, and you're not going to move forward. So realizing that there is still a lot to learn, and to be open-minded to the views and opinions of others, even if you don't end up taking them on, even if it ends up solidifying what you already think. If you've been able to listen actively to that person and take that in, then that adds real value to you and life experience. So just never feel like you've got there, because there's so much more for us to know.
Yeah, I think it's Albert Einstein who says any idiot with a plan can outperform any genius without one. And I think that just being open and prepared to listen to other people actually just gives you, it gives you options. It gives you choice. Like if you think that your view is the only view and that's the right view and you're not prepared to listen to anybody else, you're going to go wrong and you're going to crash at some point. Like you say, it's not about necessarily believing somebody else is right or they're better than you or whatever. It's just going, actually, is what I believe to be true actually true? And you have to absorb other opinions in order to make that decision. Yeah, so I think, yeah, an amazing tip. Would lead to a lot of better decisions that you can make and other people can make as well. So to wrap things up, for people to find out more about you, they can go and visit the website, which is www.designintheshires.co.uk. And you guys also, you're great at sharing sort of tips and tricks and things for marketing and design, and you do that across all of your social media channels. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Is that the core ones?
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, on all the main social channels. And as I say, there's loads of advice. So another big thing for me is sharing knowledge and allowing people to make an informed decision. So if you're unsure about your next steps or just want to pick up some tips, then head over to our social. There's plenty on there, and we'll keep going with that because I think it's really valuable to people.
Fantastic. Thanks so much, Jess, for joining us. And it's been really good. And there's some great learnings in there. So thank you very much.
Thank you for having me. It's been brilliant.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Leaky Bucket podcast. I'd love it if you could spread the message by clicking subscribe and leaving a review. And if you want to find out more, you can also fill out our online financial health check scorecard to see where all the holes might be hiding in your bucket. Just head over to mbsaccountants.scoreup.com, and you can also find the link in the show notes below. See you next time.